Logan Murray is one of New Zealand's most renowned surf photographers. For over 50 years, his incredible images of perfect empty waves put New Zealand on the world surf map. But while millions have seen his images, very few have seen Logan himself. The reason? He's a marked man. Angry local surfers wanting to protect their secret surf spots even openly threatened his life. Here's Mark Kreisel with the man, the myth that is Logan Murray.
For more than 50 years, Logan Murray has gone to great lengths to disguise his identity.
Had sniper training, great source of how to go about my job without attracting any attention.
Now you see him.
You're trying to shoot places that haven't been shot.
Now you don't.
And other photographers are too frightened to go there.
His film's stock in trade, perfect, empty waves. The green grass of home.
I think he's done more than any other photographer for New Zealand surfing, for what people internationally think of New Zealand. He's created that.
Locals didn't see it that way.
What a wanker he was, but publicising our beaches, our breaks. I'd heard it through other people that he'd had death threats.
Do you think many people in New Zealand know what you look like?
No, they wouldn't. Hopefully not. Up until this point. I went to a lot of trouble to try and ensure that they didn't.
Surfers these days slide easily into the mainstream. But there was a time, not that long ago, when they were anything but.
We were sort of kind of regarded as the scum of the earth, really, because we were considered as beach bums.
Steve Davis, aka Roachy, a surfie since the early 70s.
And a lot of people were on the government surf team.
The Dole.
The Dole.
This wasn't the Beach Boys or Hanging Ten at Malibu. This was a small, hardcore crew living on the fringes in an era when very few knew New Zealand had world-class surf. And that's how they liked it.
What about secret spots? How important are they?
Yeah, absolutely essential. Yeah, and keep them quiet.
Those spots were fiercely protected.
Well, in the worst form is they try to enforce the law. Like where they try to say, hey, this is our beach, you can just go. You can have clashes in the water.
One of the centres of this underground cult was Mount Maunganui.
The Mount was a really small town, working class town, and it was full of all these batches that were empty for most of the year that young people could rent very cheaply.
Logan Murray had washed up at the Mount. He was working as a press photographer for the Bay of Plenty Times.
This looks like a sniper rifle.
But he was locked and loaded with an arsenal for his secret passion, surf photography.
It's a American lens from Century Optics in Hollywood, used at the time by all the American surf photographers and surf movie makers.
The Bibles for this underground culture were glossy surf mags and the big kahuna, Surfer magazine from America.
I just saw the American magazines as a real challenge to see if I could get material that was on a par with the overseas photographers whose work I'd always admired.
Logan scoured the Bay of Plenty for perfect waves to shoot and sell to the overseas mags.
To get a cover, it's sort of like you've won the Oscar.
His partner in crime, one of New Zealand's finest surfers, Kevin Jarrett, better known as Ernie.
What's it like to be famous?
Nah.
Together, not far from home, they hit the secret spot jackpot.
I called it Pooney's Farm. It had great watercolour, powerful waves. They broke really close, so it was easy to get full frame photographs.
Close enough to the action to snap Ernie in the tube. Zoom in and you can see he's holding something in his hand.
You were holding a bag of apples?
Yeah, didn't really think of much of it at the time. Straightened out onto the beach and the boys came down grabbed the apples and everybody was so hungry, you know, into them.
Logan's lens captured sunny days of perfect, clean and green, empty waves. But one stood out above all the others.
Is this your greatest ever photo?
It's my most iconic photo. It changed my career. And I guess it changed how other people perceive me.
He scoped out the right location between the trees, then waited 2.5 years for the right wave.
Concentrated on this wave to start with, and was a little nervous because I knew I only had one shot. I had to get the focus exactly right. It started to throw, started to barrel, and I fired the shot.
It's been acclaimed as one of the greatest surf photos ever taken. One of a set he mailed off to Surfer magazine in California, home to some of the most crowded surf on the planet. Puni's farm was the empty utopia all surfers dreamed of.
But I just went, wow, New Zealand looks like really untouched.
Hawaiian Jeff Hackman, founder of Quicksilver USA and one of the best surfers in the world in the early 70s.
These just beautiful lineup shots with nobody around in New Zealand, and these little roads and bays and mountains and sheep and just this rural, beautiful images. Logan created this aura or this dream of New Zealand that was a fantasy in a way, you know?
Yeah, I wasn't too happy about it. Not happy about it at all.
Many New Zealand surfies saw it differently.
Suddenly, there's New Zealand. It's like, what the? You know, and it's like, wait a minute, who's taken this? And you'd see his name at the bottom. Logan Murray.
Logan, to them, had broken a code.
And it was like, oh my God, mate, what are you trying to do? You know, what are you trying to do to us? Because we don't want to go international. We want this little country down here that we have our own waves to be nice and quiet.
It did get pretty nasty, yeah.
What happens next beggars belief. Logan Murray had a target on his back.
Oh, they'd threatened to, if they came to their town, that they would break all your fingers so you couldn't type stories, that they would smash your camera gear, that you would be badly beaten.
Surf shops and cafes carried wanted posters. Tracks, a local surf magazine, devoted an entire section to Logan Murray hate mail.
Well, here's some of the stuff they said. This is your last warning, Logan. Next time, you'll get f***ing brained. Put up against the wall and shot, then strung and quartered like every other pig.
Yeah, I mean, it was bizarre.
These are serious threats to your life.
It was serious. One night there was a car drove up to the flat and guys got out and banged on the door, and I went to the door in my pajamas, and one guy had an axe and one guy had an old 303 bolt-action rifle.
Logan talked them out of it, threatened to sue Tracks magazine, and they shut down.
I sort of felt that if I buckle to this, then I'm letting down all the other future young men and women who would want to be surf photographers.
But it changed him.
I was already kind of a shy kid, but it made me even more shy. I wasn't getting the social interaction that a normal young man would get because it simply wasn't safe.
That's outrageous. You know, on reflection, you look at the behaviour, now, how we've grown, how the sport's grown now. But, that you've got to think back to the thinking and the feeling around and the protection of the breaks in New Zealand back then. It was really protective.
But here's the kicker. Puni's farm was never a real place.
I used Matakana as the location for all the action shots and lineup shots.
Matakana Island is a paddle from the mount across Tauranga Harbour. All the photos of a fictitious Puni's farm were taken somewhere else.
I shot around Tauranga Te Puke and beautiful forest scenes against some of Rotorua's prettiest lakes. and combined it all into this sort of utopia. And the American publishers at that time were looking for somewhere different, somewhere new, and bingo, delivered on a plate was Pooney's Farm.
And it was all a lie.
And it was all an invention, a concoction. And later surfers overseas wrote that they went to New Zealand looking for it and just could not find it.
Because it didn't exist.
Because it didn't exist.
These days, Logan lives in Wainui, near Gisborne,
Hi Logan. So what we
where he's very much part of the surf community.
I've given up a lot for surf photography. I never married or had children. I've worked jobs that paid poorly, but they allowed me to live the life of a surf photographer.
He's still out there somewhere, hunting down Aotearoa's empty secret surf spots. The international magazines are still buying, but he takes extra precautions these days.
What was your closest shave?
A very angry farmer with a pump action shotgun.
Mate, you're 71 years old. Why are you still doing this?
Yeah, again, it comes down to, if you want to be published in these prestigious magazines, you've got to do things that are different to get the shot that is different.
The hordes of Californian surfers never invaded our shores, but this year, Jeff Hackman finally made it to New Zealand.
It's amazing. There's not more people and it's not more crowded and there's not more places being ruined.
Shh, Jeff, don't tell anybody. Let's just keep it between you and me.
Just recently, we took Logan back to the place he called Pooney's Farm. The secret's out. Matakana Island gets a good crowd of surfers on days like this.
It looks similar, really similar, apart from the crowd, but it's as pretty as it ever was. Still a special place.
It was empty the last time Logan and Ernie were here 35 years ago.
Are there other Pooney's farms out there to be discovered?
Yes, yeah, there's still spots that have not really been discovered in a true sense. I go to a few of them myself.
So there really are unknown places still out there.
Seek and ye shall find.
Well, if you want to see a collection of Logan's greatest works, you can find them in his book, Line Up.